Hey guys, this is just going to be a short tutorial on 3D design using Tinkercad, an app that you might be familiar with or maybe you haven't learned before, but even if you have and you just need a refresher, then this is also going to be beneficial to you. So I'm going to kind of show you how to use some of the tools and kind of take you through putting together a hamburger. So we're going to actually create a 3D hamburger and assemble it using pretty much expose you to all of the tools on here. So for starters, when you get to the Tinkercad.com, you want to sign in, and you want to sign in using your G Students account. So you'll sign in with Google, and then it should give you the option. You should recognize your G Students account, and then it's going to bring you right in. For starters, you might not see anything other than create a new design. This is how it's going to look once you start to create designs, and they'll start to accumulate here, populate here. But even before we start this, this site has plenty of ways you can learn using some of these drop-down tools right here. You can kind of go through on how to use a lot of the tools that I'm going to show you right now, but there are also tutorials right here. You can also learn how to do certain lessons. There's whole lessons on how to create individual objects. There's projects that you can get into, which I'm going to probably start next year with my groups. So feel free to kind of look at those, but I'm going to bring back here, and we're going to start designing our hamburger. So when you come here, we're going to create new designs. You look for this blue rectangular button. We're going to click on that, and we're going to create a new design. That's going to bring you into a page that's going to look like this, and this is the work plane. So those of you, if you've never printed before, this work plane is really essentially the plane that if you have a 3D printer in your classroom that your object prints on. So everything's going to look fairly massive when you put it on here, but when you actually print it out, it's going to be a lot smaller. We're not going to really get into scale and being specific on our measurements here. This is just more of a tutorial for you to get used to the features, but just note that whenever there's an object on here, these numbers, they default at millimeters. So a millimeter is about the width of a dime, to give you kind of perspective. So although this might look large here, when you print it out, this is actually like 2 millimeters, so very small. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. You may want to do this first before you start, give it a title. So I'm going to say hamburger. I spelled that correct, hamburger design. That way, because you start to do multiple accounts or multiple objects, you're going to start to lose some of your designs and you'll have to look for. So it's a good idea to put a title. And notice, and I'm going to go right back, once you create or even start to create, it saves automatically. So what's great about this site is you don't have to worry about losing something because it's already here. So if I want to go back into this, I'm going to click Tinker this, and it's going to bring me right back in. So again, the work plane here, your camera views, this right here, this object here, this cube, you're going to use this quite a bit to kind of look at all of your angles from left and right, top, bottom, even underneath the plane. The only really reason you'd want to look at bottom, you don't want anything to kind of go through, because once you start actually printing, if you have something going through the work plane, that's not good. You can scroll in and out, zoom in and out with either your mouse, the scroll wheel, or you can use these two positive and negatives here on the side to zoom in and zoom out. All right, Nick, when you first jump on here, like I said, you'll see the work plane, but you're also going to see some of your basic shapes to work with. There is a drop down. We'll talk about this here in a bit, but we're going to start by creating our hamburger just by using some basic shapes here. What we want to do is create the bun, the buns for our burger. So I'm going to look for a shape that I can use, and I'm thinking the half sphere. So the half sphere, we're going to just go ahead and drag this over. You drag it over, you just kind of drag and drop. And I'm going to zoom in here. Again, you can zoom in like this as well, or if you've got a mouse, you can zoom in that way. And I'm just going to kind of move it around. To move any object around, you don't want to grab these because these are going to change the dimensions. If you want to drag and move an object, you want to kind of click where there are no boxes at all, or no squares. Move it around. But that doesn't look like a bun to me. The shape, let's start with the color. Okay, we want to change the color. And this wheel will pop up here. We want to change the color. I don't know if that's the color of a bun. Maybe that color. And now I want to start to make it look less like a half sphere. This right here is going to be the height, length, and width. So I'm going to start with the height. Not this right here. This is something which we're going to use later, which will lift the whole object off the plane. This blue part right here. We want to actually grab the height, and we want to kind of push that down. Notice if you didn't, let's say you accidentally hit something else. Let's say I did this and I lifted it off and I didn't mean to. Undo feature right here, or Control Z brings you right back. You want to use that quite a bit because you will make mistakes, and that's okay. So let me change the height again. I'm going to look for the height. You'll see this pop up. That'll let me know that that's the height. Bring this down a little bit. I'm going to grab the corner, and I want to just kind of make this bun a little bit larger. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here. Maybe raise this up a little bit. Grab the corner. Again, if you want to get specific, if you want this to be a perfect circle, let's just say I want this to be 40. I click in 40, enter. There's my width, and then my length, 40 as well, enter. Now we have a perfect circle, so I don't have to try to manipulate it with my mouse. That's pretty good. I'm going to make this actually a little larger, so let's go 60, enter. Click right here, 60, enter, and I've got the top of my bun here. Looks pretty good. One more change, I'm gonna make that a little bit taller. Let's make it 10. Perfect. So again, talking 3D dimensions, we always want to think in three terms: length, width, and height. Again, clicking on any of the corners will bring up the length and the width, and then the height is going to be your third dimension right here, and that's 10. So if you want to try to recreate what I'm doing, you can kind of keep those same dimensions. Now, that would be the top of the bun. We'd obviously need the bottom of the bun. So to do that, we want to use another tool right up here across the top. We're looking for this one right here. Sorry, this one right here, copy. So we're going to click that, and you say, hey, nothing happened. Well, watch this. We're going to hit paste. And then we have two. We have a top and a bottom. Now we're going to use another tool. Let me kind of collapse some of these things to give us a little more room. Right here, this rotate. You can see this red kind of curved line will pop up. We're going to go ahead and click that. We're going to turn this all the way around, so a full 180 degrees. Let's do that. All the way until it says 180. Let go. And now I have my top and bottom bun. All right, let's move on and create the burger patty. For this one, I think I'm going to try this sphere, a full sphere, and just kind of push that down. So again, click, drag that over to your work plane, and let's take the height down. Let's try 8. Let's see what that looks like. Now I want to make Obviously I want to have it probably around this size, so I'm just going to kind of manipulate. Let me just try the corners here. Just want to see how large that is. We'll talk about moving shapes. Again, I'm not clicking on any of the squares to move my burger patty. Let's first change this. I want to eat a blue burger. Let's make that more like meat colored. There we go. Okay. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's see what that looks like. Actually, I'm going to show you this. We are going to be lifting and moving things later, but I'm just going to lift this up, and it's the little triangle here. You're going to click and drag, and I just want to bring this over the top of this to get an idea of how large this will be. Notice I'm just kind of going to make my burger almost right to the edge here. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly round. Most burger patties are not perfectly round, so that looks pretty good. Bring this back over. Again, I'm changing this. You're going to use this a lot, especially for this. I think the top view would be perfect. And then just going to move this over, and then I'm going to actually bring this back down to 0. By the way, 0 is where it's just touching the work plane here. So when I click this, I'm looking for 0. That way it's just touching the bottom here. 3, 2, 1, 0. And I'm looking right here at this. That way I know it's just touching this. And I'm just going to kind of move this off to the side for now. So I've got my top and bottom bun. I've got my burger patty. Yummy. Now I want to create a couple of other objects I want to put on this. Well, we need cheese, of course. You got to have a burger with cheese. So I think I'm going to use the box. I'm going to drag this over, place it, and again, let's change the color so it starts to look. Let's do our classic American yellow-ish cheese. Maybe orange, right? Let's stick with yellow. And I'm going to, again, change the height, bring this down to make it look like a slice of cheese. I'm going to zoom in, move this over, and I would probably just keep it that 1. And again, that 1 just represents 1 centimeter thick. So, and then I'm going to actually click on this corner. I'm going to make this, let's try 40 by 40. So 40 length, 40 width. And I'm just clicking on these numbers. That way I can get a perfect kind of square in this case for my cheese. Let me zoom out and see how large that is. That's probably not going to be big enough. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. So I'm going to click on those corners again. And I'm going to click 45. 45 width, 5 length. And there I have my slice of cheese, okay? Checking all angles, looking good so far. Move that off to the side. Let's add 2 more objects. How about lettuce? Now for lettuce, I couldn't really find the shape I was looking for under basic shape. So on Tinkercad, you will see if I kind of hover above this, you can find more shapes. And there's a bunch of different choices and places you can go for those. I like to always start, if I'm just kind of looking for an odd shape, is going into featured, okay, or all. In this case, let's try all. And look before, it's on one of the last pages. So I'm actually going to click all the way to page, I think it's 17. So notice I'm just clicking on the last number to kind of get through. I wish you could just go right to 17, but I don't think you can. And then all the way to page 17. What I found, I'm going to use this called Fractal 2. Bring this over. Now, for lettuce, we want to make this green. And I'm going to grab the corners here. And not too bad. Say like something like that. And again, I'm just kind of manipulating the corners and stuff. I'm not really needing this to be perfect. And I'm going to take the height down again right here. Let's say pretend you did this and you're like, oh, whoops, I pushed it below there. That's not good. Again, undo button right here. Freak out. So let's change the height. This is really thin. You might even go thinner than 1, but I'm just going to keep it at about 1 because we're going to be moving everything. So we've got that piece as well. And of course, what do we have to end our burger with? We've got to end it with bacon. Now, for the bacon piece, I couldn't find anything. So in fact, you're going to go back to basic shapes and you're going to look for this tool right here called the scribble tool. Okay? You're going to click on the scribble tool. Actually, you're going to drag this over like you would any other object. But with this, you get to actually draw the shape. So you can literally draw whatever you can imagine. It's a little tricky with the mouse, but for the most part, you can get it. So what I'm going to do is draw just a kind of a piece of bacon. I'll draw one piece, and then we're going to make copies of that to have at least 2 pieces on ours. So I'm just going to kind of draw something like so. And if you mess up, let's say you want to start again, just hit the undo button here. So let's do something like this. It is really hard with a mouse. Something like that. Now I'm going to color this all in because if you can see the preview right here, I'm going to kind of color this all in. Okay, now that it's all colored in, it should look like a solid piece. You would be able to see if you were missing anything. And then once you're done, obviously you're going to click done. And I'm going to change my color to make it more bacon color. I don't think it's purple. Let's try that again. I'll make it the same as this. So let's go with this color. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And let's go to the front view. Let's bring that down a little bit. That's going to be a thick cut of bacon. So let's keep it at about 2. And I'm going to make a copy of this. Again, my tool up here. Copy. Paste. Now I have 2 pieces of bacon, and I'm going to rotate. See this tool right here? Rotate it just a little bit. I'm going to slap that on my burger here next. All right, our next job is to assemble or put together our burger. You can obviously add more toppings and more objects. I mean, if you want to even recreate ketchup, you can do that. That's pretty easy to do. I would probably recommend like the scribble tool. But if you want to put tomatoes and onions and all that other stuff, you can. Feel free to make your hamburger as elaborate as you want, but I'm just going to do this for the purpose of this tutorial, keep it kind of short. So let's put these together. And again, when I'm moving my objects, I want to be kind of careful. So I'm going to start with the bottom bun. I'm just going to kind of move some things around without, again, I don't want to grab these corners because this is what happens. You can always undo it. Just kind of want to move things around. Okay, so I want to kind of center everything. So I've got my bottom bun right here, clicking right here, checking to see if it's on the plane. It should be at 0. It is. Perfect. Now I want to start lifting and moving objects. So again, I showed you briefly before, but I want to start by lifting the burger patty up. So make sure you're clicking on the object you want to move. Let's move this here right to the front. Front view. Again, the triangle is going to allow you to lift things off the work plane. Now that I've lifted it, kind of move it over here. Zoom in. Let's see if it's just touching. I want it just kind of touching the... There we go. there's my burger patty. And again, if you find you need to make some adjustments, like, hey, I need to make this burger just a little bit bigger, of course you can do that. But I think this, for sake of this, that's pretty good. Okay, so now I've got my burger patty on there. Let's throw the cheese on there because I want it to melt when I cook it and ooze over the sides. So I'm going to lift that again the same way I did the burger patty. Again, I don't want it to hover because if you were ever to print this, which you can definitely do, you want everything kind of touching each other. In fact, you want shapes to kind of be part of the other shape. You want it to actually touch because when we group it, you'll see you want it all to be one object. So let's put that over here. Maybe move this down just slightly. Again, I'm changing my camera view, moving around. That looks pretty good. Let's lift the lettuce next. Again, front view. Look for that triangle. Lift that up. My camera around, grab it, place it. Now, sometimes it'll look like it's on top, but it's just hovering. Even this, you zoom in, it's not actually touching, it's right above it. So I'm gonna zoom in, put that down. Now it looks like it's part of it. Yeah, that looks like it's definitely part of it. Zoom back out, take a look at everything, looking pretty good. Gotta throw that bacon on. Let's lift, actually, let's show you what we can do to make this even easier. We're gonna group these two pieces together. To group anything in here, which is a tool as you get better at this, you're gonna be grouping a lot of objects. So putting objects together, you wanna click and hold and put a square around it, or a box around it, doesn't have to be a square. And you'll see that it has both of those. Once you see that highlighted, you'll hit this tool right here, group. And now, those two pieces are essentially one. Now it makes it much easier. I don't have to lift both of them. So I'm gonna view, grab this triangle, bring it over there, move my camera above it. It's looking pretty good. And then I'm gonna lower this right onto the lettuce. And that looks pretty good. Let me move it a little bit over. That looks pretty good. All right, let's finish by putting the bun on top. To do that, again, I'm gonna move my object, try to get it close, maybe beside it. Change my camera up here to maybe front, grab, not here, because this is what happens. Again, undo if you happen to grab something you shouldn't. Click on the triangle, lift that, move it over. And maybe you don't move it all the way over because you want your burger to kind of have the other part exposed. Maybe you want to just kind of rotate the bun a little bit. You can also do that. It's really up to you. Let's go ahead and rotate that. As long as it's part of the other one before we group it, you're fine. If you can rotate it like this. Wait, I'm having a hard time rotating this for some reason. Again, this is why you want to change your camera view. Sometimes the angle, there we go, seems a little bit. So kind of show you my whole burger. I'm going to undo that though and move it right across the top. Of course you can do that as well, but you're just not going to be able to see some of your good artwork. But if you wanted to kind of combine this all, let me just make sure everything's kind of touching each other, because before we group it, you want all of these objects to kind of really kind of push into the other ones. Let's put that down just like that. Zoom out. Now I want this to group this so it's all one piece. If you want to keep the colors, you want to do this before you group. So I'm going to select it again. I'm clicking somewhere over here, putting a box around it. And I want to click here before I click group. So don't click group yet. You want to click this. You want to click multicolor. The reason you want to do that, because you'll be able to group it, but you want to make sure you keep all of the other colors, because if you don't, it'll just change it all one color. So I'm going to click here, group, Now my burger should be all one piece and it should be all together. Let's do one other fun thing here. Now that we've grouped it, we've kept the color, let's take a bite out of this. Now to do that, we're just gonna kind of be creative. I'm gonna bring a cylinder over, which these two, by the way, are how you take out space here. Now I'm gonna put some of these together to make it look like teeth marks. So let me raise this up a little bit. It doesn't really matter how high this goes. Teeth are a little bit smaller than this, so maybe something like this. Now I'm going to use this tool right here, the duplicate tool. And now I should have two. These right beside each other. And I'm actually going to click this a couple times. Let's have like 4 marks. Now let me move this out of the way. Let's group this together, just these. Grouping tool here. Now, this is where you kind of have a little bit of fun here. I'm just going to change the size of this. I'm going to rotate this a little bit. I'm going to push this in to make it look like I've taken a big bite out of this. You can, again, depend on how big a bite. Let's do a pretty good sized bite here. That way it'll expose the rest of my work here. And I'm just kind of overlapping this. So when I group this, it'll take that space out. So these two are how you take space out of something. So I'm gonna, again, put a box around both. I'm gonna group. I'm gonna hope for the best here. It might take a minute here, but this should expose a big chunk taken out of this burger. Let's see. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's coming. Look at that. Boom, and now I've taken a big bite out of my burger, and essentially I can print this. This is done. If you are going to print, you're going to want to hit export.stl. That file will go into your Google Drive, and then you can share it with your teacher, and they could print it out. Hope this was helpful. Again, this is just kind of an introductory lesson. If you want more advanced lessons, you can kind of go within Tinkercad, and there are a bunch of lessons you can look at. Hope this gets you started though. Thanks.